guys, Dr. Kori here. Hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to your Monday Motivational Mastery session. Hey, since I started the Free from Emotional Eating 30-day breakthrough group, there's been a topic that keeps coming up that I wanted to address with you guys. If 60 people in a group all say that they are struggling with this, I'm going to assume that many of you are also. And that's the topic of cravings. I'm calling this episode Craving Control or Craving Curiosity. Let me explain what I mean by that. First, though, I want to discuss what cravings are not. Okay? Cravings are not physiological hunger. Really, I might say? They are not physiological hunger. Cravings are also not your body's way of letting you know that you're missing a key nutrient. I know most of you have probably read that or heard that in various places. So let's think about this. Do you have cravings, what you would call a craving, when you're hungry? Or do you have cravings, as you describe them, in between meals when you don't necessarily need to eat? Okay, a lot of people that I work with talk about cravings and them leading to emotional eating, right? And emotional eating doesn't necessarily occur when we physiologically need food. Like craving chocolate after a meal, for example. There can be some habitual stuff with this. Cravings can be habitual just like any other number of behaviors. But if cravings were our body's way of letting us know that we need to consume something, our bodies would ask for something healthy, okay? Not the type of food that my clients tell me they crave. Ice cream, cookies, sugary baked goods, ooey gooey decadent stuff, a packaged type snack, salty crunchy crap is really what we typically crave, right? Cravings are also, and this is a big one, they're not an excuse to begin believing that we are incapable of following a healthier eating plan to meet our goals. Okay, cravings are not an indicator or a cue that we're not necessarily going to be able to follow through with having some boundaries and guidelines for what we're going to choose to put into our bodies. So with that being said, what are cravings? Cravings are thoughts. Really? Yes. When you have a craving, you guys tell me, what's the experience like for you? For me, I think about a certain food. I call that a craving. I start thinking about a certain food. You may be driving home from work, for example, and you see the golden arches out there in front of you. And then in your mind, you imagine a Big Mac. Oh, I'm craving a Big Mac. So the image of the Big Mac, that's a thought. Images are thoughts as well. Thoughts don't just come in the form of words. They can come in the form of pictures, okay, of colors. So you're driving and you may be listening to a podcast. Your attention is focused on the words and the concepts in the podcasts, and you're making connections in the podcasts when, you're also paying attention hopefully to the road in front of you, and then out there in front of you see the golden arches. Well, so you notice that in your field of vision being a sense, right? And that sight led to your attention wandering from the podcast to the thought, the connection you made with the golden arches. That's an experience. And so then you begin connecting that experience with memories. And memories are more thoughts, okay? So now your attention is on food. Maybe, too, you are hungry. It's after work and you haven't had anything to eat since lunchtime. But look at what grabbed your attention initially, okay? Your attention to craving a Big Mac. It was not the hunger. So here's what I see cravings as. They're thoughts, but they're also opportunities, okay, to begin really practicing seeing your mind, okay, your mind, well, your brain is up here. The mind is this embodied and relational experience of energy. Whole nother topic. Really practicing seeing your mind as, I like to look at it as an antique shop, or you can imagine it as a museum. Imagine it as a zoo. Sometimes it feels like a zoo, right? But my point to this is that we have attachments to certain foods based on what we've eaten in the past. And most of you could list, if I asked you, you could list your favorite comfort foods, right? Comfort is an emotion, and memories are created when an event occurs with an emotion. So just noticing what is going on in our minds when we're snagged by a craving, a thought, that can be kind of fun, all right? When I was thinking through what I wanted to share with you guys today, I'm sitting at my table with my computer, and I'm just like, I was looking out the window, and I was kind of, can't say I was necessarily daydreaming, but when I thought about how I wanted to say, it can be fun to just kind of take a trip into the museum of your mind. Like, I just kind of let my thoughts go where they wanted to. And so if you let the craving, the thought, just kind of play out and see what happens, that can be kind of fun. It can be really interesting. So go back to the Big Mac example. Big Mac turns into an image of mom and you guys driving to McDonald's after baseball practice to get your ice cream cone, and then you decided to eat dinner there too. I mean, it could be anything, guys. But so cravings they're like antique artifacts from time gone by. Maybe even times from the very recent past. But if we can practice and learn how to approach them deliberately, okay, not be driven by them, not believe them, not look at them like they're a directive telling us to go get that food. I mean, we can see that they can be really quite interesting, okay? And we may remember things that we hadn't thought about in a really long time. And that moves us away from the actual food to what that food is actually connected to. You know, maybe we're craving something else. Maybe we are craving comfort or connection. One of our most basic psychological needs. So with that, I think it's important to recognize too that a craving can come on spontaneously, just kind of out of nowhere. You know, you see something in your environment that cues a thought about McDonald's or Mexican food. Well, my favorite place is Chipotle. I may not be thinking at all about Chipotle. I'm not hungry. But if I'm driving by Chipotle, I might be like, oh, Chipotle sounds really good. Start craving Chipotle. So the other thing is that cravings can also be prompted by an occurrence. Okay, so I might feel a certain way, for example, and think about a certain food. Maybe I feel happy and there are certain foods that have been connected in my experiences to happiness, and so I want to eat that food to extend that feeling, all right? Or I want to eat a certain food to numb or distract myself from a certain experience. Either way, a craving is still a thought, all right? And it can be really deeply connected to other kind of rich sensory stimuli, memories, beliefs, images, emotions. Or you just have a real kind of superficial attachment to a food, okay? No matter what, really, as I see it, the name of the game with cravings is to begin paying attention in a new way to the experience of the craving. So many of you have heard me call thoughts brain burps, right? So I like to imagine them this way because it helps me practice just noticing and then letting it go. So we say, excuse me, and then we move on, right? Cravings, if we don't approach them that way, they can just grow in intensity, okay? The longer we put our attention on them. So if you're thinking about chocolate, for example, and you think about everything related to chocolate itself, and you think about having that piece of decadent, dark Hershey's chocolate melting in your mouth, of course the intensity is going to grow around it, right? So instead, what I'm asking you to do, what I'm encouraging you to do, is to note the thought about chocolate. Woo, there it is, brain burp, chocolate. It's in this little thought bubble, right? And then check in with what it's related to. What's that connected to? Just kind of let it play forward a little bit. Is it connected to love? Is it connected to connection? Is it connected to warmth? Is it connected to celebration, happy endings? You know, could it be that you're not craving chocolate at all, but you're craving what chocolate reminds you of? So this is an important question you could ask yourself. So just to quickly review, guys, cravings are not hunger. They're not your body's way of saying you need to eat crap. They are opportunities to understand yourself better and to notice patterns in your thoughts, because cravings are thoughts. So do you have a thought about food when you finish something? Okay, that's a pattern. It's one of my patterns. This is what I've noticed about myself all through the workday. I've noticed it about myself today too. When I've completed something, it could be an email, it could be a piece of a large project, it could be I've set my timer for 50 minutes, and when those 50 minutes are over, it's like an end point. It could be a session with a client. I immediately think about food. I don't even know that it's a specific food, but it's a craving for food. And it doesn't mean that I need to eat. I'm not even necessarily hungry. I could have just eaten a meal, had a 50-minute session with a client. Now there's an exclamation point after that, and that exclamation point needs to be food in my mind. That thought is there. That's pretty dang interesting, isn't it? Kind of pay attention to the patterns for yourselves. So cravings can really be a gateway into visiting the museum of your mind, okay? And you can ask yourself, like, what are those thoughts attached to? Who are they attached to? What memories come up around those foods? Especially if the craving is related to a previous experience, okay? Or an emotion, for example. If it's just the golden arches and you started thinking about it because you saw the sign, that's different. But if you were to just let your thoughts after that one ping in your mind, if you just let them meander, see where they go. It's kind of interesting. You're kind of in the thought playground at that point. And you don't become attached to anything. It's not a directive to go to the cupboard and start eating. So, guys, here's the deal. We don't need to control cravings, okay? Just become interested in them, all right? Get curious. Move away from controlling cravings to being curious about them. Thanks. Have a great day.